Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the final subconference of the second Young Academy of Sciences Summit. I'm Sabrina Chen, and it's my great pleasure to be your MC today. Today's conference is centered on the theme Advanced Manufacturing and New Energy Technology Industries and has been organized by the Hong Kong Young Academy of Sciences, co-organized by the Greater Bay Area Homeland Investments Limited, the Greater Bay Area Homeland Youth Community Foundation, and the World Association of Young Scientists, and supported with funding from the Innovation and Technology Commission of the HKSARG. The organizer and co-organizers would like to thank the following organizations for their support, without which the event would not have been possible. They are the Innovation and Technology Commission, together with local academic partners and supporting organizations, including City University of Hong Kong, Hong Kong Metropolitan University, Institute of Professional Education and Knowledge, Lingnan University, the Chinese University of Hong Kong, the Hong Kong Polytechnic University, the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, the University of Hong Kong, Hong Kong Applied Science and Technology Research Institute Company Limited, Hong Kong Cyberport Management Company Limited, Hong Kong Science and Technology Parks Corporation, Hong Kong Young Industrialists Council, and the Hong Kong Academy for Gift Education. The Young Academy of Sciences Summit and its subconferences aim to further promote scientific exchange among young scientists and from different regions, creating new opportunities for collaboration and for showcasing Hong Kong's advantages as an international science and technology hub. Now, I would like to invite Professor Wang Zhenkai, founding member of the Hong Kong Young Academy of Sciences, to give the welcome speech. Professor Wang, please.
Good morning, distinguished guests, speakers, friends, colleagues. It's my great honor to welcome all of you attending the 6th sub-conference of the Young Academy of Science Summit with a special theme focusing on advanced manufacturing and energy. I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the Hong Kong Young Academy of Science for giving me the opportunity to deliver the opening remark, and also for co-organizing this meaningful event. By the way, all the work was done by Oscar and also Professor Zhi Chunyi. I did nothing, and even the opening speech transcript was written by Oscar. If you found the opening speech exciting, that's credit of Oscar. If you think the speech is boring, that's my problem. Okay. Today, we gather here to explore the frontier of innovation. I think all of you agree with me that innovation is the core of new productive force. When I walk through the street Taji Road, three words capture my attention. I saw the new productive force on the building of the InnoCenter. I think today we touch on very important topic that can address the new productive force. Our world today is undergoing rapid transformation driven by the need for smarter, more sustainable, and more efficient solutions. The breakthrough of manufacturing and energy are at the heart of this transformation. This sub-conference features 3 exciting sessions, including nature-inspired manufacturing, the energy storage. There are 2 sections related with energy storage. The first one mainly focuses on materials. The second one mainly focuses on electrochemical approach. The breakthrough discussed today have the potential to reshape the entire industry, enhance energy security, and accelerate the global transition towards green energy and sustainability. I encourage all of us to engage actively, ask questions, exchange ideas, and seek new collaborations. The spirit of open dialogue and interdisciplinary cooperation is what will fuel the next generation of discovery and technological solution. Hopefully, through this very special sub-conference, we will learn from nature, but most importantly, we learn from each other. inspire each other and work together closely towards a future where advanced manufacturing and energy empower a better new world. Thank you for being here, and I wish all of you a productive and inspiring conference. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Wang. Please remain on stage. We would like to invite Professor Wang and our guests to take a group photo. May Professor Wang please come up to the stage, please. Next, may I invite Professor Zhi Chunyi to proceed to the stage. Professor Chen Guohua, Professor Stephen Wang, Professor Yang Zhenbao, Dr. Gong Jiadong, Professor Zhu Ping'an, Professor Liu Qi, Professor Ma Yuan, Professor Li Aiming, may I invite all our guests to look at our official camera at the center, please. And please continue to look at our official camera. And may I invite all of you to give a thumbs up, and we'll take another group photo. Thank you very much. Please take your seats. To commemorate this event, I would like to invite everyone here to take another group photo. Please remain on your seats. Our photographer will take pictures from the stage. So may I invite everyone, please look at the camera in the front. And please look at the camera with your big smile. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And let's take one more photo with a thumbs up. Please keep looking at the camera. Thank you very much. Next up is the first session, in which our scientists will discuss topics related to nature-inspired manufacturing. In order to respect and protect our speakers' copyrighted content, we kindly ask you to refrain from taking photos and recordings. Thank you very much for collaborating with us. Our moderator for this section will be Professor Wang Zhankai, founding member of the Hong Kong Young Academy of Sciences Summit, Associate Vice President, Research and Innovation, Dean of Graduate School, Cook Group Professor in Nature-Inspired Engineering, and Chair Professor of Nature-Inspired Engineering of the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. Please give him a big round of applause to welcome him to the stage.
Okay, for this section, we have 4 distinguished speakers from 3 universities. CTU, I have 2 speakers, Stephen Wang and Professor Zhu Ping'an, and Professor Yang Zhenbao from UST, and Professor Ma Yuan from PolyU. I think the common feature of the 4 professors is dynamic and also did very good science. Okay, the first speaker is Professor Stephen Wang. Currently, he is Associate Vice President for Resource Planning. I had the luck to work with Stephen Wang for a couple of years. I was very inspired by his energy, and especially he not only did good science, and also he made lots of contribution to the university service. Today, I think he will deliver a very good topic regarding droplets. The title droplet is small, but I think that he gives a large picture. The picture is a drop of innovation, bridging physics to global sustainability. Now let's welcome Professor Stephen Wang. Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thanks, President Wang, for inviting me to give a talk today. It's actually definitely my great honor to give a talk, in this very special summit this morning. I just would like to, because it's, I've been working on, Jobless for many years. So I think it's a good opportunity for me to, just share, what I've been doing in the past few years. So the topic of today is the jobless innovation, bridging physics to global sustainability. So basically, I've been working on, things like, with the jobless impacting of jobless and things like that. And I would like to use this some jobless for some practical applications. I think I will divide my talk into 5 different sections, including, scientific culture. The second part, we'll talk about the liquid droplet mobs. And third one, I would like to talk about, how could we produce hydrogen from the air. It's actually related to droplet as well. And the fifth one is a bit fundamental. In case you haven't heard about Leighton Foster effect, I would like to, just go through that, how could we use a heat transfer or, phenomena, into the real world applications. So the first part of the topic is about, atmospheric agriculture. This is a photo actually, showing that, in a typical, date, especially April, May in Hong Kong, right? We could be suffering very high humidity in the atmosphere. The humidity could reach like, 90 or above, sometimes even, 100%. That kind of humidity is not, nothing special in Hong Kong. So when I came back to Hong Kong in 2019, we found that, there's a lot of this kind of, humid days, around us. So we pretty much, we were really inspired by, that environment. Can we actually? The question to us is, can we do something with that? If we do something, this is Dai Mo Shan, it's not far from here, 20 minutes drive. We did a very, rough, calculation. If we manage to harvest the fog, the water from the air, then we should be able to fill up like 26,000, swimming pool per day. That means it's a heaps amount of water, in the air. So the question is that, can we actually produce a system or device that can allow us to, to convert the water from air into, into the water source. So we came up with this idea. Now you can see that this fog harvesting system basically includes the 2 components. So the top part we call FWC is a fog harvester unit. So we make this special little structure, have some sort of hydrophobic, hydrophilic, patterns on top, just to enhance the, the fog harvesting. When the, the wet air pass through the system, that will allow us to harvest the water from the air. I mean, like this is, I know we get water, but I mean, like, can we actually do something more with that? So essentially, we designed this so-called droplet generator. When we connect the water in the reservoir with dripping, to the bottom, then we allow us to produce this high voltage. So this is a Kelvin droplet generator. It's really old technology, just for information. But people didn't use that for any application. I think this is the first time for us that, we come up with the idea, like, we use this as a spark. When the droplet, dripping on the coil, that allows us to produce this high voltage. But I mean, the question to us, like, how come we don't use the electricity for, some other application? The energy is conserved, right? You don't expect a very high power from system, but you get a very high voltage, very low current. And that's why we came up with this idea. We want to use these things to, produce nutrients. So the mechanism is that when we're dripping the droplet into the coil, then we produce this spark, and the spark actually will allow us to do composition of air. Like oxygen is going to decompose it, and nitrogen is going to separate, and then we combine, we can become NOS. So NOS, for your information, is one of the important fertilizer nutrients for the plant. So in that case, we get free water from the air. We get nutrient from the air. So everything is passively captured from the air. So this is the video. I hope it's working. So that's how the system works. So we have the wet air pass through the system that will allow us to connect the water from the air. On the other hand, like we get a spark, produced by the generator. By doing that, we can actually significantly, substantially enhance the growth of the plant. So this is the experiment. The thing on the right-hand side is without our generator, and the plant on the other side just showing that significant improvement in growth rate. I'm going to just talk about that. This project includes a multidisciplinary angles of research. So it related to fluid mechanics, material science, also related to plant science. So pretty much when we look at this project, it's pretty exciting in the beginning, especially that I have no idea how this thing can contribute to plant growth. But when the student came up with this idea and then actually proves it's working, it's super exciting to me. I'm going to skip some fundamental bits. So basically, in the needles, like the fall harvester, we have this kind of patterns. Of course, like this, the black dot, the pattern size strip, it means the hydrophilic spot, and we also have a hydrophobic substrate. So the spacing is important, like because so you want to have a fast condensation. On the other hand, you also need to have a fast detachment of a droplet from the surface. So when we did a systematic experiment, we come up, there's some sort of optimal spacing range that allows us to capture the fog, faster. I think I'm going to skip this part. So basically, we studied, when we have this kind of generator, so how it's going to contribute to the decomposition of oxygen and nitrogen in the air. So we did a DFT simulation, just try to capture the fundamental bit. So the things like, I think this is a very good demonstration showing that how a system can contribute to plant growth. So this is one-week experiment. The plant on the left-hand side shows that there's no generator at all, and the plant on the right-hand side shows that we integrate our system, in the plant. You can see that it's very obvious the result, right? This is one-week experiment. The plant goes much faster than the other one, the control experiment. The video is a bit slow, but you can see the difference anyway based on the video. So this is one-week experiment. We can see that there's substantial, contribution by the generator. I think, when we did experiment, we always look at the impact, right? Okay, fair enough. This thing can contribute to plant growth. So how about, can we do some real-world demonstration? So actually, we try, different kind of, plants, like, wheat, spinach, radish. I think you can see that, with our system, that, the root, height and the stem height are much longer than the control experiment. That means like, you capture the water from the air, on the hand you produce nitrogen, just passively, or can contribute to plant growth. This is the project that, have been working, I think we just managed to publish that paper. The second project that, we're working on is so-called liquid droplet mop. So things like, just for information, I think I'm not sure that the people here are lots of experts doing solar panel. I'm not a material scientist, but I know that it's a very substantial problem related to solar panel cleaning. So just for information, based on our estimation that every year we can spend 100 billion gallons of water just for basically water, solar panel cleaning. Look at Hong Kong, right? You can generate dust every day, and the composition, the deposition of dust on the solar panel surface easily. So if you don't clean, actually there's significant reduction in efficiency, especially like in the Middle East, that part you have desert, you have a lot of particles, that actually can contaminate your surface. So the amazing part, every year in terms of water consumption, that kind of 100 billion water, that means like it's a water demand for 2 million people, okay, per year. So we use a heaps amount of water for that kind of a cleaning purpose. So when I was in Manchester, actually I took this video myself. I think this is very conventional method for us to clean solar panel. Basically people use the high energy water jet to to flush the particle away. This is really common, right, in industries. So the method for us, like can we actually come up with the idea that allow us to substantial the water reduce water consumption? Actually, we did this work by accident. Go back to the previous video. Okay. So basically, we found that because I've been working on droplet, we found that even use a small tiny droplet injected gently, this droplet can actually attach into the heavy particles and then just leave it up. I think the surprising part, for this project, is that this particle actually is 7-8 times heavier than the droplet. Right? We just use a very gentle energy injection, and then he can actually whack the particle and then leave it up. But of course, it depends on a number of parameters like the impacting velocity, droplet size, and particle property. But based on experiment, this droplet, even though we inject very slowly, he can capture the heavy particle. And actually, we did some more experiment, of course, on the video on top, we just inject the droplet in different velocity. You can see that only the one in the middle can leave it up. So that means that there's some sort of optimal range for us to do this kind of job. And we look at the Webber number phase diagram. So we did a theory that look at what kind of impact velocity of Webber number that allows to do the this job. I would like to skip the theory part, but the things we use this is the droplet more to do the solar panel cleaning. The things you can see the figure on the left-hand side, okay? So we have a droplet cluster impacting on the surface. You can see that the yellow column means that the cleaning efficiency. The blue column, which means that we compare it with the conventional method and our method. The water consumption we can reduce 6 to 10 times comparing the conventional method. On that hand, the efficiency is nearly 100%. Right? That means we just use a low energy input droplet impact on the solar panel. You can see the very clean surface by this using method. You don't need to have this high energy input drag. That was waste a lot of water in certain areas, especially like Xinjiang or Central Asia. They don't actually have water, right? Can we actually come up with this kind of method for efficient, surface cleaning? So this project actually we are working with for Central Asia cows. So we have a discussion before that. I do a lot of things related to water harvesting from air, and then my counterpart did a lot of things related to the hydrogen production. So the things in Central Asia or in central part of the world, you don't necessarily have water to produce hydrogen. Can we actually come up with a method that allows to passively capture produce hydrogen? So we came up with this idea we have the system that there's a pretty it's a lot of materials here, but the idea is that we want to produce hydrogen in some certain areas especially Central Asia that they don't actually have a fresh water. So the idea is we capture the water at light. So we actually use this absorbent spot time absorbent use MOF to capture the water at the low humidity. At the daytime, we expose the sunlight, and that will allow us to produce the hydrogen. So this is the prototype we built. We built a very small scale system in the lab, up to the scale 1 to 1 square meter production unit. I would like to this is the video showing that how this system works. So we place this system in a rooftop of a city U. We let it capture the water from the air at the evening. Then we let it expose to the sun. You can see currently the hydrogen production from the system. And then we did the demonstration. Seems like we got the hydrogen, so we just fed into the the fuel cell, and that will allow us to power some LED light. I think at the moment, just based on very proof of concept, we were able to power almost 1,000 commercial LED lights. Of course, the hydrogen storage is always a problem, and that's why we do this demonstration, showing that when we produce hydrogen, we can use it immediately. We store that as as in the form of electricity, right? Oh. So before I end my today's seminar, this is something I've been working on for years. Little force effects. In case the audience here, you are not very familiar with little force. So this little force effect. You have the hot surface there. You have to inject some sort of water on the surface. Then you get this scattering effect. What's going on? You see this thing is dancing. There's no direct contact between the droplet and the surface. If you look closely, the latent force effect actually is that you have a high temperature the substrate, then you have the droplet on the surface. Actually, there's a cushion vapor actually levitating the whole droplet. People studied that heavily in the past 20 years, like experimentally, theoretically as well. But people did not actually come up very good idea about how to use this. And for information, latent force is actually not a cool thing. I mean, it's a cool phenomenon, but actually it's a really bad thing for heat transfer because it's, Fukushima is a big problem. Why we cannot cool down Fukushima, the nuclear reactor? Because the temperature is too high. There's no direct contact between the droplet and the surface. Then you cannot take out the heat, right? In terms of heat transfer, it's a really bad thing. But I mean, on the other hand, it's cool because this droplet is levitating. The question is can we actually do something with that? So instead of playing liquid, I rather play a solid. So this thing is this is a piece of dry ice, right? I think fundamentally, you want to produce latent force, you need to have a temperature gradient. Your substrate is much hotter than the boiling point of the substrate. And the boiling point of dry ice is minus something, 70 something. So it's hot enough to levitate this piece of dry ice at the room temperature. So if we do this, we place a piece of dry ice on the surface, you can see that it's dancing. The one reason why the center mass is in the middle to try to balance himself, but obviously he's levitating himself, okay, because they don't force effect. So we did some study, experimentally and theoretically look at that, the gas layer as a function of a number of parameters like temperature gradient, the mass of the dry ice, and also temperature gradient. I mean, the cool part of the solid latent force effect is that, the red line, I mean, the figure B there, at the bottom, right? You can see the red line is actually indicating that the vapor layer for water droplet, and the blue line actually indicates for the solid case. So you can see that actually it's increased a function of time, which means it's more stable comparing the droplet, right? And you can see that there's no direct contact between the dry ice and the surface. That means it's going to create some sort of a frictionless, contact phenomena. So that's why we came up with this idea like, okay, it's cool that there's no direct contact between the object and the surface. Then we trim the dry ice into the piece of cylinder connected with the LED line. And if, we expect that there's no direct contact between the dry ice and the surface. That will create sort of a frictionless motion. So this is the experiment we did. Okay, we have this 11-meter long tube, and then we just give it some small kick. Then this dry ice can travel very fast without any friction. Okay, there must be friction from the air, but there's no direct contact between the object and the surface. Then later on, we did a more ambitious experiment. So this is a 100-meter long tube, right? We just try to inject the dry ice in the tube. You can see how fast this piece of dry ice can move inside the tube. Yeah, this is the 100-meter. He can finish the motion within seconds. Maybe too fast, you cannot see the motion. Okay, yeah, no worries. So we came up with an idea like, okay, it's cool that it moves so fast. There's no friction between the object and the surface. Then we came up with this idea like in the real application. So basically, industry help these people insert the fiber into the tube. So what they do, they connect the piece of piston with a wire, and they introduce a high pressure air, and they will allow us to insert some sort of fiber into the system. I mean, like we do physics. If we simplify the model in the system into this schematic here, there's two kind of friction we can look at, right? The wall fiber friction and the wall piston friction, right? Of course, the longer you insert, you create more friction because the gravity, right? Eventually, the fiber will touch the surface. There's not much we can do with the fiber part, but we can do something with the piston part. So this is we come up the tube. We want to inject the low friction piston and the dry ice into the tube. And you can see the difference is that, for the low friction Teflon case, it's stuck in the middle when we insert the fiber. But for the dry ice, it just goes through to the end. So essentially, you have the longer tube. You can even insert longer. And the time scale. And there's significant reduction, in time as well, because there's no friction created by the dry ice himself. I'm going to skip the mathematical part and the theory part. I think this is a pretty interesting project. I would like to call it software engine. I'm just teaching thermodynamics, like, you want to produce electricity, that this is a very common method for us to produce electricity in the world. 80% the electricity we have on Earth is produced by Rankine cycle. So you have this bulky system, like, you have the boiler, you have the turbine, you have the condenser. So you want to, convert the heat, some sort of chemical energy into electricity. It's really bulky and expensive. The things like, we work on a lot of physics. Can we actually use some special physics to produce power? That's the question for me. I would like to show you this video, like, at the room temperature is 20 degrees, then we drop the ball, at the surface, nothing happened. It's just like expected, right? Because it's damping, this thing eventually it disappear, the bouncing. But what if we have a high temperature at the 200 degrees? So this thing just keep bouncing. Yeah, actually, there's a sound here, but I don't think we can play the sound. Anyway, this thing, we can produce this kind of sustained bouncing by using this special material. So this material here, 99% is water, okay? So the things like, when he hit it, in contact with the hot surface, he creates this vapor, the vapor, and then, of course, this elastic, this ball. Then we create this kind of, complex, sustained bouncing phenomena. The question to us as an engineer, this ball is, bouncing randomly, which we don't want. So that's why we came up with the method, like, can we actually place that in the tube? By doing that, we can let the ball bouncing in one direction, right? And then in order to, maximize the energy conversion, we want to try to, bounce a number of them in different tubes. The fundamental thing, this is the design that we want to have, like, eventually we have a hot surface, right? It can be like your reactor, your heater, or your, geothermal rock, whatever it is. Then we place the system on the surface, let it bounce, and then that's another cool way for us to produce electricity. So actually, we make it work in the lab. So you can see that we place the ball there, let it bounce at a high frequency, and this is the power that we can produce from the system, right? So this is another way for us to, to produce electricity. Of course, like, we can bounce one, we can, bounce a number of them, okay? That's the things that we have been working on. The things like, this is, why we call it portable software engine, because the ball is soft, so that's why I came up with this name. The application, like, that tailpipe, it can reach the temperature 200 to 60 degrees easily. Like, essentially, we just, have this software engine placed on the surface, and that allows to, recover some, waste heat from the system. In Hong Kong, in this context, we have a number of cars there, also for, old cars, and the tailpipe can, reach high temperature easily. The other things like, this Iceland, I would like to do this experiment there. There are lots of hot rocks there, and I think potentially we can recover the geothermal energy. Just for information, this country, like the rock, like this hot surface, they are not uneven. I think for our system is ideal for that kind of case because we can tailor make it smaller, bigger to fit into the surface area. Before I end my today's lectures, I would like to just share maybe one of the most exciting discovery recently. So I would like to call this a capillary force effect. So what's that? Actually, this is, I hope this video is working. Yep. So basically, we made this kind of cluster capillary, structure with 3D printing out. We place the droplet on the surface. Then, because of the capillary action, we can suck the liquid into the system. And then at the surface, then we have the hot surface at the bottom. Essentially, this capillary will be, immersed, will be, occupied by the water droplet. After some time, then he will generate this so-called capillary force effect at the bottom, and it will levitate the whole object. The cool part for this one, I think this is very revolutionary because in the past, people have been working in the liquid droplet latent force effect for a long time, and I think this is the first time we come up with the idea use this hybrid system to generate this so-called hybrid capillary latent force effect. This is pretty fundamental. I hope that you guys do not get too bored. But we're actually very excited because this is, by refilling the droplet on the top, we can actually, sustain the latent force, using this structure. we look at the comparison. Like in the past, people paid much attention to the surface effect to maximize the droplet, either lifetime or self-propulsion efficiency. I think this is the first time we do it the other way around. We don't look at the surface himself. We look at the hybrid, the structure, in order to sustain the latent force effect. And we did a theory on that. Of course, like, in order to trigger such kind of so-called capillary latent force effect, we need to, the porosity is important. The radius is also important. By, tailor, the structure, in the optimal, condition, they will allow us to produce, this capillary latent force effect. So we did a comparison. Like also, I think this is so the things like, when we have this kind of structure, we can tailor-make that, make a substrate in the different angle. By doing that, this, surface object can do some self-propulsion. If we look at the next video here, yeah, it's a bit, yeah. And we actually try different nature material, like use a cuttlefish bone. We suck it in the liquid nitrogen and then make it cut it in a certain angle. And this object can navigate and also do this self-propel motion. Yep. And the question to ask when we found this kind of phenomena, what kind of application we can use that for? Because of time restriction, I would like to skip this lecture, this slide. So. Oh, yep, sorry. So I would like to, thank all my collaborators, including Professor Wang here, also Professor Omar, Thomas have been working for years, Clemens, we've been working on the hydrogen project as well, and those are my students. Okay, sorry, I think that's one of the time. Thank you. Yep.
We have a Q&A section? No? Okay, good. Thank you very much, Professor Steve Wang. Okay, next speaker is Professor Yang Zhengbao from UST. Professor Yang Zhengbao also used to work in CTU. Professor Yang Zhengbao will move to another topic, which is classical, but he made significant contribution. I also was very, very impressed by his achievement. Every year he published several papers in Nature, Communication, in Science Advances, which is very difficult, for classical research area. And also, I want to take this opportunity to give a big applause for Professor Yang because he just got ASC category B, used to be Yuqing. Congratulations. Okay.
Previous one. Oh, 25 minutes. Okay, so I don't need a timer. Good. Oh, sorry. Sorry. It's okay. No, I think I can get it out if possible. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, thank Professor Zhuang Kai Wang for your invitation, and thank you for the introduction. I'm very honored to be here. And yes, I was working at CTU for 6 years. Now I'm working at Hong Kong UST, a brother university. I'm so happy today because I come back to the former university, great location, but more importantly, I meet many old friends, colleagues, so excited. By the way, Stephen really breaks through. Amazing work. I'm so shocked by your great achievements. Very nice. I feel strong pressure, so I will keep. I will start a timer. Yeah, don't work. It's okay. Doesn't matter. Yeah, I will finish in 20 minutes. Today, I don't know what I should present when I get this job from Professor Wang. What should I do? So I'm thinking for a long time. Then I'm very lazy. I'm lazy. So I just copy from my lecture slides and put it here. I think probably it's some videos will be interesting. Not very sleepy. Yeah. My name is Yang Zhengbao. I'm currently working at Hong Kong UST. before I go to my research content, I'd like to introduce my lab. We call it Smart Transducer and Vibration Lab. I always say that I have a role model who is Nikola Tesla, who invented electric vehicles, right? Yeah, and he said that if you want to find the secret universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So energy, frequency, vibration, nothing else, on 3 items. You can find many secrets and behind the universe. That's it. I have a dream to be a to be a researcher in physics, but my score is always too low, so I never have a chance to go to department of physics. So now as an engineer, so I'm using my engineering knowledge to explore some maybe 1 or 2 secrets behind the universe. In our lab, we basically very hardware driven. We're working on sensor, actuator, and energy harvesters. And today I want to share with you maybe three questions. So first, what is the piezoelectricity? Why do we bother about that? Anyone in the room have never heard about piezoelectricity? Perfect, right? This is great scholars. Yeah, so proud of you guys. Yeah, everyone knows that, right? It's very fundamental. And then I want to say that why should we bother about bioorganic piezo materials? What's important, right? How much we can sell. Last one is anything new. Anything new. As a researcher, we're always looking for something new, something revolutionary. So anything new because of material, then you got device. Device ultrasound is the largest market share. So ultrasound. So what's new? I still remember when my wife was pregnant. We go to a hospital regularly. We check ultrasound. It's very clear. Very clear. So it's just a material technology. Why should we do bother about that? First, please allow me to go a little bit back to history. The piezoelectricity is over 100 years. And this is first discovered by Curie brothers. The Curie brothers. By the way, the Pierre Curie, is the husband of Marie Curie, right? The Curie family is very powerful in France. And this is the real paper. The real paper published by Curie brothers, 1880s. Now I have one question. Let's say this is Pierre Curie, right? He was born in the year, okay, 1880s. He and his brother discovered this piezo effect. Can you tell me how old was him at that time? You can use calculator or AI, doesn't matter, yeah, please. It's pretty hard, yeah. Oh, yeah, thank you, very smart, yeah. Oh, 22 years old. So I was thinking, what I'm doing while 22 years old? I'm so frustrated with my final exam. That's what I'm doing. Yeah. 22 years old. And this is no science or nature. It's nothing. It's a conference, 2.5 years, 2.5 pages. Very common. And they say that we have found a new method for the development of polar electricity. Just press crystal, you get power. That's all. Very simple. And right, after that, Pierre Curie never got a Nobel Prize because of this, right? The accident, traffic accident. But it's a great, I think it's a very inspiring story, at least in this field, right? That's 22 years old. At the very beginning. And after all 100 years development, this has developed into many categories, especially because of World War II. That's the great momentum for this development. And they have many categories. So now, actually, we have first generation, we have crystals. The real quartz from mountain. Basically, you go to a mountain, get a quartz, you press it, you get power. That's simple. And later, you have BTU, PZT, right? Recently, we have the relaxer PT, single crystals. That's pretty powerful. DC rates all 1,000, very high. Then what's next? So what's next? Right? So we, I think as researchers, we're all looking for what's the future, right? We don't, of course, we rely on the previous knowledge. What's the future? What can we do with these crystals, ceramics? So I keep thinking for this for a long time. Really. Of course, we also do the ceramic doping, different things, right, to improve the performance and composite. But I always think that what's next? And we should invite all the funding and resources in our lab as related to the future, right? So that's one. I think probably that is the future I want to share with you. That is bioorganic materials. Why biomechanics should be piezoelectric, and why is that maybe the future of the piezoelectric domain. This one, this recently read the Nobel Prize in medicine and physiology. I never know someone who working on who working on medicine and like proteins can get the Nobel Prize because of piezo effect. And they call it piezo 1, piezo 2 protein. Because it's a small protein in our skin, we now can sense force. We know pepper is spicy. So I go check that one. I'm so inspired. Our whole life started to learn from this. See, if we can really learn from them, right? The CRISPR modified the protein to get a higher piezo effect from protein. And we failed. We failed a lot. Right? Wow, this biology is another big world. This is fundamentally different. But this definitely tells us that's a possibility. If we explore the biological world, probably we can also get some organic materials, piezoelectric, and they can generate power, they can sense the world, just like our human beings. So it's a gem from stone to protein. So can we do it? Actually, we already did for ourselves. My daughter has a bone fracture recently. We go to hospital emergency, terrible. And if we have bone fracture, we go back, they can regenerate. That is a kind of very weak piezo effect from the bone, fresh bone. And of course, there's some other recent paper talking about, if our hair, the silk can also have the piezo effect, but it's very, very weak. So usually it's very weak. It's not useful for engineering. We hope usually we have engineering something. We use that for biology. Now I hope we can borrow something from biology and transfer it to our engineering domain. So how to do that? Usually there are two ways. One way you go get this like fish, right? The spider silk, get there, modify a little bit, then get a very big piezo effect. Another way is bottom up, right? Bottom up. We check what materials are the fundamental for our human beings, for animals, like the amino acids and protein. So we can say if we can modify these amino acids and up to peptide and collagen, finally we can form some piezo materials. Both are very challenging, still at a very infant stage. I encourage everyone to go look at it. Actually, we have a strong strong skills in engineering. We can use that for biology. So I want to introduce one work made by Zhuo Min, who is now the postdoc in Stanford University. We're talking about how to modify glycine 108 mandatory amino acid for humans to become piezoelectric. So yeah, so actually there are already some paper talking about this. I'm not the first one. I'm usually the first 10, but not first one. Some guys way smarter than me. They think about how to do this. Like this paper, they talk about the PVA and like the surface effect. Then get some aligned glycine in one then film. So we developed another one. After we learn from Nobel Prize. This is a very, very senior Nobel Prize. Talk about how to control the crystal size, the size of crystal in different size. In a nanometer, like 5 nanometer, something range. We have nano confinement effect. Then we can deposit from the solution back to this cross-tallying substrate on silicon wafer. This is what we have done. And the performance is pretty good. We already compare performance, right? So the beta type glycine already have the highest piezo response in all these organic materials compared with the various with collagen, with silk, with the bone. Bone is very, very weak, very, very weak. I don't know why God make our bone little piezoelectric. Who knows what is the biological response? Okay. I skip all this time limit. So now we talk about how going to use this material. Okay, how going to use these materials? And one typical application is ultrasound. ultrasound is almost, I think, in terms of market share, the largest one for piezo materials. Of course, they have sensors, transducers. But let's go back to research. Okay, research is very general. I think it's a good topic we share with our panel discussion today. So, right, what is a good research? How to find a good topic? All right, how to define a good topic for your students so they don't disappoint it, right? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. But I like to learn from these senior members. That's one. I think everyone aside from his I think the amazing the Nobel speech from this Russian British scientist who discovered graphene. He said, how to do research? The poking in the new directions, even randomly, is more rewarding than generally perceived. Right? We are probably digging too deep within established area and leaving plenty of unexplored stuff under the surface. Right? It's so true. I think of myself. I always talk about the piezo and vibration every day. So probably it's better to try to a different world, a different direction. And another one is Professor Carl Sapples, genius, right? 2 times Nobel Prize, always in chemistry. He said the goal, right? The goal of research is always something new, must be new, all right? Must be new. That's what we should follow. So new, right? So we should find something new. So what's new? Then I'm thinking, okay, let's go back to Tesla. Right? Tesla is smart, right? Tesla say energy, frequency, vibration. Energy, frequency, vibration. And you know, Tesla is very old, right? 19th century. So what's new? If there's something can combine these 3 atoms, that probably can can imply the secret universe, right? I'm thinking probably ultrasound, right? Ultrasound is vibration. Ultrasound has frequency, low and high, right? High frequency, low frequency, and it's vibrating. It's keep vibrating, right? So that's probably something we should explore. But then we go back to industry, organ people say, oh my goodness, seems nothing new in this area, right? For ultrasound imaging, this is very popular, very powerful. GE, Philips, everywhere. It's pretty powerful, right? 3D, 4D imaging. If we go to the structural monitoring, ultrasound is very used for therapy, for MTR, everywhere, right? And another dimension is military. Military is also very used. That is why piezo is popular, because of World War I, World War II, right? So this is primomature, very mature, nothing new, terrible for us, but good for the industry. Then again, I go back to get the inspiration from Tesla. This is one image. I'm not sure on time or something. It's old, over 100 image. Real image. This Tesla sitting in his the lab, right? I think over 100 years, now we look at this image, it feels pretty fancy, right? Pretty fancy. Over 100 years, pretty fancy. This various power transmitting in a long distance. Even today, I think it's not possible to transmit maybe 1 kilowatt from here to Clearwater Bay, right? It's pretty hard. That is, I think, visionary, ambitious, kind of new. But I don't think I'm not as smart as him. I can't do this 1 kilowatts on some power transfer. Maybe a little smaller. Then saying maybe probably human is better, right? Human is small. Human is near. Human is very near, right? 1 meter, very near, and power requirement is very small. So let's talk about something. Maybe we can translate its power to humans. Then I should pick out one, right? Pick out one. I go check and ask, not ask GP, ask Google, what's the best one? He said, these 10 are the best, greatest invention for humans in human medicine history. I finally pick out, okay, which one is the power? Oh, this one is the power, right? This one is the battery, and it's small, it's a long, short distance, right? It's in human body, and it's kind of great for humans. So let's work on that. And this small device, like this size, on the right side, has saved over 3 million lives. So it's pretty powerful. And pacemaker is used, it's very fundamental. It's basically, it's like the pulse generator, and detect the heart rate is different, you have generated pulse. That's all, yeah. And it's developed, and the pacemaker actually is developing. So smaller ones called pacemaker. There are also some other things like a defibrillator. In medicine, it's hard to pronounce. Always something like this. It's very complex. So 1 channel, 2 channel, 3 channel for different disease. So they have different patterns. And we go check these medical publications. They all tell us the main problem for all pacemaker are cardiovascular regulators is from the longevity, the battery. Battery is too weak. I'm sorry, I'm a professor in battery. Yeah, currently it's very weak, and they need a longer lifespan. They need more function, more power. So here we are thinking probably we can contribute a little bit our ultrasound piezo technology to get this battery working longer. And how to do that? Again, we are not the first one. We are not the first one. For example, like 10 years ago, Professor John Rogers and Cannon now is a professor at MIT, already developed some piezo patch attached to a heart. The heart beating, so get the power from there. And the power output is like it's a microwatt. And another research in Dan from France, and he also developed like a pump, a tiny pump membrane, and generate about 50 microwatt power, and it's directly implanted in heart. So we can summarize the limitation. It's very small space, very small weight, very big excitation, and must be long lifespan, over 10 years. Biocompatible with other things, that's for sure. And status quo is about 10 microwatt. And that is not enough. That's enough. For pacemaker, the lowest power consumption is also about 5 microwatt or 10 microwatt. But in electronics, we know, right? If the power requirement is 1 watt, you need over 10 watts in power source, because overall the power flow is low efficient, always like that, right? So we need something probably 100 microwatt to meet the requirements for pacemakers. And yes, we did it. We use ultrasound. Our solution can improve the power generation from the engine harvester in pacemakers from 10 microwatt to 6 milliwatts, about 2 orders magnitude higher. And you can see this line. This line is power output, right? And you have the matching impedance and going to over 6 milliwatts. This is good enough for the current pacemaker application. And how do we do that? Actually, it's very straightforward. We have one ultrasound outside. The ultrasound transmits from our chest to the piezo element in the pacemaker, and the ultrasound is transmitted from mechanical to electrical. And our secret is impedance matching, very straightforward. Impedance matching, acoustic impedance matching. And this is the first page. By the way, this is made by now Professor Hong Ying. He got the overseas talent, now working in Huasi Hospital, keep working on this cardiovascular disease. And we have some testing. By the way, this is made here, right? The old logo. So that means it's nice. I'm proud of that. And the little mouse. Yeah. And by the way, this is although we have improved, right, from two order of magnitude, but still this is very new. There are many open questions. For example, the power transfer, like if distance is longer, efficiency is lower, right? This is physical law. The longer this efficiency is lower. But for acoustic, right, when we increase the distance, the transmitter receiver, you see the voltage is not decreasing. Why? It's an open question. Right, another one. This is very new. We see efficiency. We are here. It's already a little bit better than other papers, but still you can see the efficiency is lower than 0.1%. The efficiency is lower than 0.1%. Super low. That means there's a large room, right, for our users. If you can improve to 1%, I believe it's a top breakthrough. So many areas we can explore. And by the way, in our lab, we fabricate different piezo materials. and we can offer always samples free to my friend, please. If you need any piece materials, thin films, thick films, bulky materials, or like this 3D code structures, please come to Clotter Bay. I'm very happy to offer you these free samples. Or you can give me a cup of coffee. Yeah. We published about 2 or 3 years ago, and I don't know this until someone told me it's one of the richest professors in the world, Professor Robert Langer. I followed him for a long time. He working on drug delivery. I never worked on drug delivery, I know. I never worked on that, but I watched YouTube. YouTube is the best channel to learn anything, I think. Everything don't know from the lecture, from professor, go YouTube. Or it's always some Indian genius are talking about that. I watched a video, Professor Bernard mentioned that. Back to 2014, the Scientific American vote and get 10 world-changing ideas. And the number 8 is wireless charging via sound waves. So I feel so happy that I have resonance after 10 years with Professor Langer, with the Scientific American at that time. This is a picture I took last year when he was here. And I introduced him, my daughter. Hopefully, after 20 years, he can admit my daughter. And one last thing I want to get your advice, your wisdom. So this year, we moved a step forward after 2 years of the first mouse testing to pig, a real pig, like my size. A weight is like my size, yeah. In Zhongshan Hospital. And we do the surgery with this neurosurgeon for implanting pacemaker to humans. But there is no pacemaker for pigs. So we use this Medtronics, the most popular pacemaker from the United States. For humans, I implant to this pig. And this is a surgery for whole day. Finally, we can see the pacemaker is really implanted in this pig. And it's working or not, I'm not sure. Let me see. Yeah, you can see this is the pig. No, he's still alive. Yes, very strong boy, And after we implant this pacemaker, once we have ultrasound, we can tune his the heartbeats. And this is April. Now it's about September, right? 5 months already. I think the first wireless, ultrasound-powered pacemaker for 5 months. But I told the Zhongshan this animal center, let's reach this pig as long as possible. Let's reach a record. Now I'd like to borrow your wisdom. You can see it's very cute, right? Very brave animal. Anyone please give can give me advice? Can we give a name to this little pig? Any suggestion? Yeah. Ultrasound. Yeah, I'm thinking a lot. I will definitely make a record. Last time I asked the audience in Italy, said probably we can call it Little Cutie. Yeah, beyond a pacemaker, actually, if we go to hospital, we have many implants in human bodies. And this is already existing. And there's also something new developing, some unknown, but keep developing in academia. I believe this virus power will power all these new implants, all new medicines for the better well-being of our humans. Okay, that's all. Thank you. Thank you.
I learned very, very important sentence. Okay, if we want to know the secret of the universe, right? The key word is energy, vibration, and frequency. Now, after listening to Professor Young's talk, I realized if we want to do good research, we should understand energy, vibration, and frequency. Okay, thank you very much, Professor Young. Okay, next speaker is Professor Zhu Ping'an, also from City University Hong Kong. The topic is slightly relevant with the first speaker, Professor Stephen Wang, but in different angle. I think Professor Zhu Ping'an work is very, very deep, especially in fundamental understanding of droplet dynamics. And also, I want to take this opportunity to give my, not only mine, I think all of us, congratulate him for being awarded also in SFC category B or Yuqing this year. Okay. Okay, now the floor is yours. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Firstly, I like to thank the Hong Kong Young Academy of Science today. So I'm very honored to stand here to share some of my recent works in my lab, and I also thank Professor Wang for the very kind invitation. So actually, when I was preparing my slides, I also faced the similar challenges and difficulties with Professor Yang, because over the last 3 years, my lab was interested more on answering some fundamental science questions. But today, the topic is about the advanced manufacturing. So after careful thinking, I included some of the my previous works related to the advanced manufacturing. So in my topic, I would like to bridge the two major themes. One is the microfluidics, because when I was a PhD, so here. Yeah, good. Okay, so when I was a PhD, my PhD thesis topic is about the microfluidics. And I would like to, we would like to bridge how the microfluidics can power the advanced manufacturing technology. So this is the major theme that I would like to share today. When we look at the micro and nano fabrication technology, indeed it is very important, because especially over the last several years, in the semiconductor manufacturing technology, such as the soft lithography technology, there involves a lot of micro and nanoscale fluid flows. However, in those micro and nanoscale fabrication approaches, we always face a very big challenge. So it means that there is a trade-off between the accuracy and scalability. Yeah, but when we and also we can find some similar things in the nature. So in the nature, we have a lot of very fascinating surfaces and materials. They have very intricate micro and nanostructures, and those structures can be made by nature, grow naturally over large scales. However, replicating those natural materials in our artificial materials is very difficult because of this trade-off. So broadly speaking, the current manufacturing technology can be categorized into the top-down and bottom-up methods. So for the top-down method, we can, like the lithography technology, we can make very regular surface. But the scaling up is difficult. We need to use very expensive equipment, and also scaling up is very time-consuming and tedious. And in contrast, when we use the bottom-up methods, such as electrospinning and the self-assembly and other coating methods, we can produce the large-scale surfaces, materials easily. But controlling over the surface microstructures is challenge. So yeah, so this is the major challenge that we are thinking, and our lab was thinking over the last several years. So so it is possible to come up with some ideas to mediate this challenge. So we look into the liquid, and we found that the liquid or the fluid, they are soft matter. So like here, the Terminator 2 liquid robotics. So this video was very famous like 10 or 20 years ago. I was very keen with this video. So we can see that by using the liquid, due to its soft matter material, the liquid can be morphed into arbitrary shapes. So it means that the shapes can be very diversified. Indeed, our human beings are very smart, even dated back to several thousand years ago. We have already used the shaping properties of the liquid, starting from the Shang Dynasty, the bronze casting, and until now to our modern science technology, 3D and 4D printing. We morph the materials from the liquid. So we would like to first use the soft matter of the liquid to solve the accuracy and the shape diversity of the manufactured structures. And another thing we care about is the accuracy. So, and when we look at the fluid mechanics, we found that these fluid mechanics, they can be found over the vastly varied length scales, starting from the nanoscopic length scale even to the planetary scale. So here, this image is adapted from the wandering Earth, the 流浪地球. Yeah. So when the Earth was passing through the Jupiter, the atmosphere was attracted, the air was attracted by the Jupiter due to the gravitational force. So this is a kind of fluid flows. It occurs on the planetary scale. So this means that we have large enough space to manipulate the liquid over different length scales. And our lab is interested with about the microfluidics. When we look at the microfluidics, it occurs in the length scale between 1 micrometer to 1 millimeter. So this means that on the downside, or to go downside, we can precise the accurate control over the micro nanostructures. And to the upper length scales, when we scale up the microfluidic production, we can breach the millimeter to meter scale. So this will resolve the contradictory property between the accuracy and the scalability. So this is our thinking. And then we spent several years to try to use the microfluidics, produce the liquids, droplets, jets, and emulsions to produce those templates. And then we can solidify those very well-engineered templates into different functional materials. And we can also scale up these micron channels to parallelize thousands to hundreds to thousands of micron channels to increase the throughput. Okay, so this is the idea. And yeah, so we come up with this idea. Also the platform, the microfluidics enable the soft manufacturing. Why we call it soft? Because the liquid template, we call them the kind of soft matter. We can morph them into different ideas. So now I would like to introduce 3 aspects of the materials we can make. So we can use a droplet, this individual droplet as the template to fabricate the micron particles, micron capsules. And we can also use the liquid jet. So here we have a channel. We can produce liquid jet. We use jet as a template to fabricate microfibers with different morphologies and shapes. And then if we further assemble those emulsions into 2D or 3D dimensions, we can produce those porous membranes or porous surfaces. Yeah, okay. So, so the first category is about the micron particles. So when we now have the ability to use the microfluidic technology to fabricate different micron particles. And then we are thinking about how we can use to apply those particles into some applications. So the target we aimed is to develop those anisotropic micron particles into micromotors. So firstly, we use a geometrically confined method to fabricate those anisotropic single or compound micron particles. And then we can develop them into those chemically powered micromotors. So here, because this platform, they allow us to precisely tune the shape and also the size of the micromotors. So it allows us to change its mobility very precisely. So, and with this microfluidic fabrication platform, it allows us to precisely and versatilely engineer those micromotors and also test their functionalities. And by doping more smart materials, so now here we use a heat-responsive material. We call it as the liquid crystal elastomer. So when the temperature is heating to a critical temperature, these solid particles or solid rod, they can change its shape. So when we use microfluidics to fabricate those micron robotics and further assemble them into 2D or 3D superstructures, we can achieve the micro-nano robotics with more advanced functionalities. For example, here we assemble them into tetrahedral shape. And with the shape-changing property of this tiny device, it can pass through this very narrow channel. So this channel will mimic the narrow blood the blood vessels. And after passing through these channels, it can be delivered to the target and then to shrink in size to just capture this target. And then we deliver this target to this cargo to a target site, and then to change the temperature again. And this micron robot can release the target again. So this can achieve the capture, release, passing through these sophisticated geometries within different environments. Yeah, and further we can assemble, use the capillary effect to assemble those tiny micron particles into different superstructures. So so like here, when we put two or more anisotropic micromotors together, they can be attracted to each other due to the capillary attraction. And we found that with this asymmetric shape design of and also asymmetric chemical properties of the micron particles, we can produce a light responsive motion behavior of these micromotors. They can achieve the translational motion and spinning motion and the revolutional motion. So this technology will allow us to assemble those numerous micron particles into different patterns and into different shapes, so that they can find potential applications in the information encryption technology. So this is the first part regarding use the individual droplet as the template to fabricate the microfibers. And we can further extend this fabrication to microfibers. So so indeed the fabrication technology is similar to the previous one, but now we do not only interested about these encapsulated droplets, but instead we are also very interested about these outer shell. So we can fabricate these compound asymmetrical microfibers. And also, because the morphology has been, the diversity of the morphology has been extended, so we can use these microfibers to achieve the development of micron actuators. So here we use the asymmetrical microfibers, and they can be responsive to the humidity change. And they can achieve the bending, twisting, and rolling, and the contraction, extension, shape deformation by using these microfibers. And then we further develop these microfibers into artificial muscles. They can have the ability to lift lift an object thousands of times heavier than the artificial muscle by itself. It can also be endowed with the magnetic responsiveness to achieve the cargo transport under different scenarios. Yeah. So this is about the microfibers. And more recently, here. And more recently, we would like to use this actuation of the microfibers further to achieve the directional liquid transportation. We parallel two fibers together because these two fibers, they are responsive to the liquid. When they absorb the liquid, they will deform. And when two of them, they are paralleled to each other, and then they can achieve a so-called geometrical gradient. And with this kind of self-evolved gradient, it can transport the liquid. So this system allows us to transport the liquid without any external energy input, and also without any initial gradient. So this is greatly different from previous technologies. And what we can do with this fiber parallelize, they have the potential to be applied into diverse diagnostic areas. For example, here we can use it to achieve the chemical reactions between the micron droplet and also the micron fiber surface. So this technology is very similar and have the chance to replace the antigen test that widely adopted during the COVID-19 period. And it can also induce the transport of a liquid, another liquid, oil droplets, and the solid particles, and to induce the smart liquid-enabled circuit. Yeah. So and besides that, we can further assemble those micron emulsions into 2D and 3D dimensions. And with this technology, we have the ability to produce the porous surfaces. So here, the key challenge we would like to address is to simultaneously achieve the robust liquid repellency and enhance the mechanical stability. So this porous surface they have, so we get some inspiration from the natural species of the springtails. So this is the springtail. So it is a tiny insect. It lives in the on the ground. So they develop their skins, so the so-called cuticles, with robustness because they will need to resist the abrasion from the sand soils, and also their cuticles, they are liquid repellent because their homeland is very easily to be flooded by the heavy rains. So we found that they have the comb-like patterns on the cuticles, and on the cross-sectional shape for those comb-like patterns, we have the so-called reentrant angles. And for our porous membranes, it has these two features. One is the interconnected solid structures. Another is the cross-section here. We also have the reentrant structures, so that our porous membranes can achieve the robust liquid repellency due to the reentrant structure, and also to achieve the enhanced mechanical stability due to the interconnectivity of the solid materials. So, and then we can achieve the so-called omniphobic properties in the air to repel different liquid droplets. So here we use initially hydrophilic material to achieve the so-called repellency to both water and oils. And based on this, we further extend the liquid repellency to different scenarios. For example, we can develop these porous membranes to the under liquid super repellency. We can use a single membrane to achieve the underwater. So here is the underwater to repel simultaneously the air bubbles, oil droplet, and another water droplet. And also to achieve when this material is placed on the oil, it can also repel air, oil, and water droplets. So, and further, we can develop our porous membranes into hot liquid repellency materials. So it can have the chance to be developed into the anti-scaring clothes because it can shade off hot water droplets with a temperature up to 19 degrees. So, and then it means that if we make our clothes to be repellent to the hot water, they cannot penetrate through our clothes, and also the thermal insulation properties can be preserved. And finally, we develop those porous membranes into the slippery surfaces. Our structures mimic the natural citrus shape, the citrus peel-like structures. So we can use these micron holes to seal the liquid inside, and then to elongate the durability and the longevity of this infused liquid. So this is about how to use the porous membranes to develop the liquid repellent surfaces. But this work was done like 7 to 8 years ago, and over the last 2 to 3 years, we are thinking about how we can use those liquid repellent surfaces to answer some fundamental scientific questions. So that's what we done recently. So we are very interested about the yeah, similar to Professor Wang's talk, we are very interested about the droplet dynamics. So especially the impact process of a droplet onto a solid surface, because this kind of process is very fundamental to a lot of practical and industrial applications. For example, in the spray cooling and also the combustion fuel spraying within an engine. And also in the agricultural spray process and also the 3D printing process, all of them involve the impact of a droplet onto a solid surface. However, within the development of this field, a lot of previous works focused on the process of the very single droplet. For example, here we show a conventional study. We use a single phase water droplet to impact the solid surface. So the understanding, I think, is very comprehensive because this field has been developed over hundreds of years, and especially over the last 20 years, a lot of very fascinating works has been revealed. However, less understanding is about on the compound droplet. Means that if we change the composition or the structure of the droplet, what will happen? So here it involves a lot of very interesting scientific questions. So these questions, they are open to be answered. For example, we know that when a droplet impacts onto a solid surface, the capillary effect is important. And in our previous understanding, we model this capillary effect similar to a spring. So for example, when this droplet is compressed, we see that it is compressed in the vertical direction and then stretched in the vertical direction. It is vibration. Like Professor Yang's talk, we have the energy, impact energy, the vibration here, and also the frequency. Yeah, so here is very important. These three factors are very important. And we model this process like a spring, like we stretch and compress the spring. However, for previous droplets, this spring, they are uniform. Yeah, because when we go around this droplet, the so-called interfacial tension is the same. So we model this process as a uniform spring. However, when we change the structure of the droplet, now we may have changed the capillary effect. So a scientific question is that can we achieve the anisotropic capillary effect? So that's the thing we are very interested about. So, and when we conducted the experiment, very accidentally we found that when we use this, the so-called hollow droplet, means that we inject a giant bubble into a droplet. And for this for this hollow droplet, when we impact this droplet onto a super repellent surface, it will not bounce instead of this conventional single-phase droplet. So this means that this kind of droplet, the bouncing ability is greatly inhibited. So we are very curious about what is the underlying mechanisms behind that. So we performed the numerical simulation. We found that indeed within this droplet, we observed the oscillating fluid flows. So this means, so here we can observe that we have two interfaces. One is in the inner interface. Another is the out interface. So these two interfaces, they are deforming simultaneously and in the anti-phase process. So this means that we have two types of capillary effect. One is enhancing the droplet motion. Another is inhibiting the droplet motion. So we model this by the so-called contractive capillary effect. Yeah. So, and very interestingly, we observe this similar phenomena in a macroscopic scale. So here we use a balloon to design this system. So here is a single balloon filled with water. We can see that it can readily bounce up the ground. However, when we insert another gas balloon inside this water balloon, means that the bouncing behavior is greatly inhibited. So this can have some ideas and inspirations on the future development of the fire retardant materials, because in the fire extinguishing area, we can through the balls to inhibit it, the fire extinction. Okay. Yeah. So further, we we include more bubbles into the droplet. We found another very interesting and beautiful phenomena. And here the key finding is that we found that when 2 bubbles are included into the droplet, it will bounce in a shorter time. Means that we can reduce the so-called contact time between the droplet and the solid surface. So we can reduce the contact time by 60%. So why we are very interested in reducing the contact time? Because when the solid surface is in touch with the liquid droplet, the contact time will determine how many energy and the momentum is transferred between the liquid and solid. So this can have the potential applications in the anti-icing applications. However, here we see that we can only reduce 6%. And then we are thinking about, can we go further to reduce more of the contact time? However, when we go back to the literature, we found that there is a scientific limitation. Means that when we have the droplet to impact onto the solid surface, the capillary effect is limiting the behavior of the droplet. So here we have a theoretical value, the theoretical time scale. We call it as the inertia capillary time scale. So for this value, it is typically around 2.2 milliseconds for millimeter-sized droplet. So this means that for a common millimeter-sized droplet, the typical contact time is around of 10 milliseconds. And until now, the greatest reduction is achieved by Professor Wang in 2014. The very fascinating pancake bouncing behavior, it can reduce the contact time by 75% to around 1 to 2 milliseconds on the same order with this inertia capillary time scale. However, going down further is very challenging because we have no way to break up this capillary limit. Yeah, so our thinking, yeah, so here I think our finding is very similar to Professor Stephen Wang's findings. We include solid particles into our droplet. We found that this compound system can bounce up very quickly, and the contact time can be greatly reduced to 0.3 milliseconds to achieve a new record. So here, the mechanism underlying this process is that we replace the inertia capillary limit by the solid particles. The solid particles dominate all the process. So the impact is the Hertz contact. So we developed this Hertz contact theory to predict our models. And we further using the icing droplet to repeat this the same experiment. We found that for icing droplet, the contact time is again within 0.4 milliseconds. So this has a very direct relationship to the anti-icing process to the airplanes, because when the airplane is passing through a cloudy atmosphere, there are a lot of water and water ice compound within the cloud. So when this cloud icing droplet hit the airplane, the wings of the airplanes, they will have a chance to ice on the surface. However, here we found that the contact time is greatly reduced. So this may in the future have some some inspirations on the development of the new anti-icing surfaces for the airplanes. Okay, here our last story I'd like to share is about another scenario of the droplet impact. So previously, we conducted the droplet impact onto the normal environment. But here we have a crazy idea to ignite the liquid droplet. Yeah, because a lot of people say that the droplet impact has some applications in the fuel spraying, means that in combustion engines. However, when we search to the literature, nobody ever conducted the impact experiment with a burning droplet. So we did this experiment. And we found that, very interestingly, when a burning droplet hit a superhydrophilic surface, it can bounce. So this is violating our common sense, because commonly a room temperature droplet hit a solid surface, it very easily stick onto the solid surface. So we are also very curious about what happens here. We firstly use the interference technology to visualize the underlying liquid film. We found that very interestingly for this burning droplet. So here, the droplet is not touching the solid surface. There is a stable liquid air film underneath the droplet. However, for this room temperature droplet, the air film is very easily to be collapsed. And by numerical simulation, we found that the major mechanism here is that when the hot droplet is approaching a cold surface, the bottom of the droplet will cool down faster than the upper region of the droplet. And then this uneven distribution of the temperature will induce temperature gradient. This temperature gradient will induce a so-called thermocapillary flows. So these thermocapillary flows will drag additional air to the bottom of the droplet so that we can observe a thickened air film underneath the droplet. So this is the fundamental findings. Now we are developing this technology to the development of the fire retardant materials, because we can design a surface to shade off a burning droplet to prevent the fire spreading. Okay, so yeah, so this is our my presentation today. I would like to thank all my group members and also the collaborator, especially Professor Wang and Professor Chai Yu from Department of Physics in CTU, and also Dr. Zhang Chengguang. Now he is an engineer in ANSYS. Okay, thank you for your attention. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Professor Ping and Zhu, for the wonderful talk. We move to the last speaker in the morning session, Professor Ma Yuan from PolyU. I think the first three talks mainly focus on learning from nature, but I think Professor Ma Yuan's work is one step further because he brings the haptics, I think also the human-machine interface to the manufacturing. I think that let's give a big applause to Professor Ma Yuan's exciting talk.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor Wang, for inviting me to this extraordinary event. It's my great honor to share my research with everyone here. Feel humbled and excited to do this. Thank you. So my talk here, I write kind of an interesting topic, is that we want to design our sensation, and we want to tailor the friction for our next generation human-machine interactions. Should I talk to this screen or that screen? Which one is better? Kind of everyone is sitting in the center, so probably I'll also focus on this one as well. So, well, tactile or haptics or the sense of touch has already been a widespread concept even before we start to study it. Like, say, for example, it does affect our cognition on the, whether this product is good or not. Like, when we close the door of a high-end car, we kind of feel the sense of sleek movement of the door. And say, for example, when we're touching our furnitures, especially the high-end furnitures, especially when we're touching the high-end furnitures, we kind of feel that they are smooth and makes us feel good. Okay, this is a good quality product. And it actually has been studied many years ago that it does actually affect physical retail. Like if you go to the supermarket for these goods that actually have a small window in the packaging that allows you to touch the towels, touch the napkins, they can have a better sale. Similar thing goes to this skincare industry and car interiors decorations as well. And those we can say somewhat call that passive haptics. So the material is what it is after they are being manufactured. And on top of that, we also have the haptic technology that for some of the devices, if we can tune their physical properties, we have the chance to tune their sense of touch. And of course, these are well welcomed by the market as well. You can see that there's a lot of applications on consumer electronics, robotics, healthcare, and of course, to help people with vision impairments. And we have a lot of impressive products that's been developed for generating the sense of touch in different haptics platforms. And naturally, of course, the market value of the haptic industry, no matter it's passive or on top of that active haptics, is increasing rapidly. The driven forces are like consumer electronics, of course. We want our cell phones, tablets to be able to generate all these exciting touch. And of course, Industry 4.0, where we can actually make use of these sense of touches to help in the manufacturing process, increasing the efficiency, reducing the risks. Applications includes like cockpits, no matter it's in the cars or in airplanes. Metaverse, of course, it has been a hot topic for several years before, like this year. Medical rehabilitation, of course, industrial operation and maintenance. Now, when we think that we can tune the sense of touch of different surfaces, what are we tuning about, and what may be the most effective factor that we can tune? So it has been studied like 20 years ago that this is a very simple elementary, no, probably junior high school level physics. When we slide our finger across a bump, actual bump, and there is a force that generates a tangential force because of the slope of the bump. And interestingly, people may ask, is it the shape of the bump or that tangential force that affects our cognition of whether there is some change on the surface? So they did separate these two factors. They designed a flat surface that has a change of friction force. And when the volunteers slide their fingers across this friction-tuned surface, they found that there may be a bump. And more interestingly, when they have actually a bump over there, but friction-wise mask the surface so that the rising edge of the bump has a smaller friction force and the lowering edge has a larger friction force. When the users touch that, they actually cannot feel the existence of the bump. So it all comes down to that if we have a good control of the friction force on the surface, we may be able to control the friction force and then control the sense of touch. But some questions remains unanswered is that how are the textures and frictions related to each other? We know that friction force are related to the textures of our perception, but what kind of texture feels good? What kind of texture doesn't feel good? If we want to tune our surfaces, what should we do with these textures? How can we design our textures to feel good? And what does the friction affect the user's perceived pleasureness? And just like which surface feels better, which surface feels not good? So we start with some interesting experimental studies. We find some surfaces that have a difference in the surface roughness. Because previously, all our knowledge about the roughness correlation with the friction force is probably just the junior high school teaching of physics that says the rougher the surface is, the higher the friction force. But exactly the opposite is that when we test the friction force on these three samples, we found that the rougher the surface, actually the smaller the friction force is. So that's actually contradictory to what we actually know. And now it also applies to the flexible surfaces, like the previous one was the glass, and this one's just the wrapping packages of, say, for example, the wrapping of the bag of chip that you can find in the supermarket. We also have, interestingly, two kinds of packages. One has larger particles, one has smaller particles. Interesting enough, when we use our fingers to test the friction force, in the natural state of the finger, when, just like right now, I use this finger, it feels like one of the packages has a higher friction force. But when I wash my finger with soap and then dry it with some IPA, which is just some kind of acetone, not acetone, but some kind of alcohol, we find that their friction force relation is different. So it means that the texture does affect the friction force, but our finger state also affect the friction force. And in some extreme cases like this packaging, they operate in different directions. So it kind of is a complicated problem. And how do we explain this trend of friction force variation with the surface texture, with the state of our fingers. So if we want to model this problem, we have to understand what is going on in this contact interface between the finger and whatever we're touching about. And of course, when we're thinking about the industry that's rising, then naturally the most of the interest goes to screens. So what affects it? Finger's friction force is governed, of course, by the topography of our finger. And our fingertip has fingerprints on it, but fingerprints are really large in our sites of micro or nano scale. Because on top of the fingerprint, we have the corneal sites, which are essentially dead cells that are disc-like. And these dead cells have their own small patterns on top of it. If we want to really understand what is going on in between the finger and the screen with respect to friction, with respect to tribology, we have to understand the topography at first. And then what's going on physically inside this interface. For this interface, we have multi-scale surface topography, and our finger is highly nonlinear, no matter to whether it's a structure of the skin. We have several different structures. And each of the structures of our, we can say it's a biomaterial, and all these biomaterials have highly nonlinear properties, because when we stretch them, if we look at the stress-strain curve, it's going to be a banded curve. And that finger sweat, and finger also has oil on it. And these will constitute a multi-phase flow. And for this multi-phase flow, it will generate fluid-solid coupling effect. And not to mention that in this process, we are also considering the friction and wear at the micro scale in between the finger and the surface. Now, only after we understand this interface completely can we then design our touches, no matter it's active or passive, to be robust enough to different environments, no matter it's in Hong Kong or it's in Beijing, where our relative humidity differs by like around 50%. And to different users, like some of the users will sweat more, some of the users will sweat less. So all of these will then guarantee our products or our technology is robust enough for our market. So how do we model this trends of correlation between the texture and the finger and everything that we have talked about? So of course, you cannot simply throw everything into console and expect the software to crunch some numbers out, because the physics are so much coupled into each other, and then we have to think, how are they coupled with each other? So for example, we have to think about the contact mechanics, elastic mechanics, and contact mechanics. And then we have to think about how does the water play in a role. And then later on, how does different length scales of our finger, no matter it's the scale of our entire fingertip, down to corneal sites, down to the micro patterns on top of the corneal sites. So van der Waals force as well. So we have built a model of multi-physics and multi-scale contact model. And with this specific model, we want to incorporate the dry contact simulation and capillary simulation, specifically for the capillary simulation. How do we expect the liquids, droplets of water and droplets of oil, will distribute within this contacting interface? How will they find their most energy favorable state? So this is actually how we simulate the distribution of droplets in between the interfaces based on the minimum energies criteria. And then we can iterate these effects and achieve a coupled simulation. So now we have this model. We know it's our like homemade model. We want to know if the model is correct. We want to know if the model is reliable. To what extent is the model reliable? So we fabricated a series of lithography fabricated samples with holes in them and with different sizes of holes. And this is what our model looks like. And we compared our model's prediction on different samples using our model to simulate the friction force. And satisfactory enough is that we can simulate and predict that like the shallower holes will have a higher friction force, and the deeper holes will have a relatively lower friction force. That agrees quite well with the friction, with our experimental observation. So this is a hard substrate. And then we also tried our model on a soft substrate, just this food packaging. And you remember that we just talked about our kind of contradictory observation of the samples where one of them feels better with our natural finger, whereas the other one feels better with our washed and clean finger. And it's kind of a complicated story, but using our model, we were successful enough to actually predict this comparative trend, that we were able to, by considering everything we listed out before, the liquid-solid coupling, the capillary effect, and the contact mechanics, then we predicted that, yes, for natural state finger, this sample does feel better, whereas for this, as for the clean finger, the other sample feels better. So then we can say that this will provide valuable guidance for the design of new packaging materials, new haptic materials, new materials that aims at providing a good feel for different product designs. But still, that's all we say is negative haptics. It only helps us in designing materials for like just feels good. And probably can say that, okay, we can do trial and error, right? We can find 10 materials and just feel which one's better, and that's what we're going to use. And that is exactly what's actually going on in the industry. They don't really care, but they just find whatever they can use. But on top of that, we say that can we further modulate the friction force and then modulate the sense of touch of these different devices? That what can that achieve? So for example, when we touch this surface, feels rough. When we touch this surface, kind of sleek. And touch different surfaces, they all have different sense of touch. But can we integrate all of these touches in one device? Like on a screen, can we allow the screen to tune its sense of touch in time so that sometimes it feels like it's gravel, sometimes it feels like grass. Or sometimes, or a part of the screen feels like gravel, a part of the screen feels like carpet. And say when we tune this kind of knobs, the knobs can have a clicking sensation. It feels good. But can we replicate the sense of clicking on a touch screen, like say, for example, for our touch screens in the cars or our touch screen of iPads? So what can we do when we actually tune the friction force of different surfaces? Actually, it's going to be very interesting because now if we can tune the friction force on different screens, then we can allow us to touch the screen and feel, say, for example, whatever is shown on Amazon or Taobao, that what that product feels like. And when we've played the games on these iPads, we can feel like, say, for example, the guitar strings when our finger plucks them. When we touch a Mona Lisa that's been displayed on the computer screen, we can feel what this Mona Lisa may feel like, even when our eyes cannot see them. And of course, advertisements, you can design innovative, interactive, exciting advertisements for different applications. So friction modulation on this screen will have a broad range of applications that's quite different from what we are experiencing today, and it's going to be exciting, hopefully. But right now, how do we achieve surface haptics? Several ways. We can apply electrostatic force and apply the electrostatic field. And we can apply ultrasonic vibration, or we can apply temperature modulation to change the friction force. And by the way, this is the method that I proposed several years back. But today we're going to focus on electroadhesion because that is probably the most market-ready technology. We say most close to market-ready, but it's still not market-ready because of exactly the probably reason that we talked about earlier, that we want this product to be robust enough against different environments, robust enough against different users' conditions. But sadly, the current demonstrations were not good enough. So it's a good technology, but how do we then incorporate the electrostatic effect into our previous discussion of designing our touch? So then, of course, we go back to our modeling because the current technology is not robust enough. So how can we improve the robustness? Going back to the modeling, we already have the deformation, we already have the capillary, we already have the van der Waals force. Now, what does we introduce when we introduce this electrostatic field? We know that electrostatic field itself is going to change the contact mechanics, and at the same time, electrostatic field will also change the capillary. So naturally, we will start with modeling the distribution of the capillary, the shape of the capillary. What does the shape of the capillary look like when there's a contact interface? And of course, when we have different coatings, the contact angle is going to be different, and the shape of the capillary will be different. With the change of the shape of the capillary, we'll have different capillary forces that affects our friction force. Of course, we have our electrostatic field applied in the interface, and you can see that electric field strength is going to be different. When we have water in the interface, the electric field is also going to be very different. And interesting enough, when we have electrostatic field, we are going to change the contact angle of the capillaries and therefore changing the friction force as well. So we have this one-dimensional model specifically tailored for a specific range of textures. This range of textures only have protrusions. And based on this based on this modeling, we can then suggest new improvements of our textures so that these textures will act better with respect to the changing relative humidity and the changing amount of sweat, so that our surfaces will be more robust against different environments and against different users, making it market ready. And of course, we say that the previous technology is probably, the previous model is probably not good enough because it can only tackle a limited range of our textures. So we want to get one step further and fuse our electrostatic model into, fuse our module of electrostatic into our previous m² model. And lucky enough, our m² model still holds strong. And with our model, we can see that it successfully predicts the change of friction force on different texture surfaces. And we can also quantitatively predict that some of the textures will perform better against the changing relative humidity, against the changing amount of sweat of our finger, so that we can say that we have improved the performance of the surface haptics by a lot, and that making it more market ready. And we actually have been preparing the improved series of samples in our lab and hopefully developing our own product in probably within the next 2 years. Now, going back from our specific development, the development from the designing the touch for passive haptic devices or active haptic devices, we want to have our outlooks of application of our haptics into the metaverse. Well, metaverse, the concept of metaverse used to be a really strong concept. People used to be really excited about it. But now, this year, we do not talk about it anymore. And for those who actually talks about it, says, that's a scam. But is it? Is it? I think to our knowledge, it's probably not, but it's been limited by several important challenges that we have to deal with. The very first important issue is the technical readiness. Technical readiness means that the technology can be demonstrated in the lab, but just because of the issues that we just talked about, the robustness and reliability makes it unavailable to the market. And of course, technical readiness is closely related to the cost consideration that if it costs you a fortune to just make a demonstration, then probably it's not going to be a successful product. And specifically for our haptic rendering, how do we generate enough new technologies? How do we generate enough new textures, a sense of touch, so that we can have a really broad experience. So all of these are the challenges, and but now that we have summarized the challenges, we can propose some potential solutions, like very good development by our colleagues in CDU. Professor Yixing Ge has developed good fusion of haptics technologies with different modules, and also by combining different modalities, and the very good development by Professor Yang here, developing fusing different sense of touch into our interactive interface to allow better active tuning of the haptic experience. So I know everybody's probably hungry, so I'll end up a little bit earlier. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your inspiring insight, Professor Ma. Please remain on stage. We will now move on to the panel discussion. May I invite the speakers and the moderator to go to the stage, please. Professor Wang Zhankai, Professor Stephen Wang, Professor Yang Zhenbao, Professor Zhu Ping'an, and Professor Ma Yuan, please. And just now, Professor Ma mentioned about the outlook for metaverse with haptics, and it sounds really exciting. And right now, we'll move on to the panel discussion. So it will give the audience and our professors a chance to discuss more in details. And I'll now hand it back to Professor Wang Zhankai.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
I sit here. Okay, good. Take a seat. Okay, good. Maybe according to the talk consequence. Okay.
According to the sequence.
Okay,
according to
good.
the sequence.
Okay. First of all, thank you very much for your attending the conference, even close to 12 o'clock and close to lunch. Everyone still here. Also, thank you very much for the four speakers for your wonderful talk. Okay. Professor Li Wang gave a talk about energy harvesting from droplets, and also Professor Yang talk about energy harvesting from acoustic sound. Professor Steve Ping'an Zhu talk about how we can use droplet to do software manufacturing, and Professor Ma Yuan talk about the human-machine interface. Look like we can do everything, right? So now my first very simple question is, how far we are close to the real person, real human.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Wang. It's a great summary, and yes, I think so for the ultrasound implantable pacemaker, it takes maybe 5 years or more. I think first in pig, then it's monkey, then probably go to the clinical. I think it takes some period 5 years or longer. Thank you.
For my work, it's like it's all proof of concept. To realize these things like the real world application, I think it takes time. But doesn't mean that we should stop doing the things we have been doing, or especially the thing we are really interested in doing. I mean, like the roadmap, I'm guessing, like especially the thing I mentioned here, we did the semi-large scale system. Like for example, the energy harvest system is like 1 to 1 meter square meter. Actually, when we talk to the EMSD, the local government body, they show high interest in that, especially in some remote area we don't have clean water. That's sort of a scenario. They want to make a small system to produce hydrogen to make this energy supply. I think it really depends on case to case, but I would say that the things we've been doing, we try to make it big. I mean, in a sense, like it should be close to the real application. But on the other hand, like of course, like there's a lot of things we should do down the track.
Yeah, thank you. So actually, this question is also I was always thinking about these questions, how to translate our fundamental research into the practical applications. So to be honest, when I joined the CTU in 5 years ago, basically all of my research was driven by curiosity because I only have a very small lab with limited resources. I don't have the human resources and the all the facilities to make to achieve the very complicated experiment and to go to the practicals. So that's why over the several years I do more things regarding answering some scientific questions. But recently I was thinking, always thinking about that. Rooting on those findings in our labs. So recently we have some negotiations with some companies. They are very interested about some of our the coating technologies. But to be honest, we're still very in a premature stage. So because how to bridge the lab scale product to the industrial scale product is another topic. Yeah, so I think it is more challenging to do some scientific research in the lab. Yeah, but in the meantime, I also see some challenges. The great challenges that the fundamental scientific research can indeed power the real product, like the airplane project. So nowadays, our country, China, they are developing our own airplanes, C919 and the new one C929. So I noticed that several projects they have been released, and several teams in the mainland China they have get some very big projects regarding how to improve the anti-icing properties for the airplanes. So these are all based from the fundamental science. So I'm really very excited about that. Yeah.
Maybe human-machine interaction is probably the most market-close technology, and as we have discussed, that's exciting technology, and everybody excited about it, and so we are really working close with the industry, and hopefully we will set our own company and start selling some interesting toys in the next 2 years, probably. Hopefully.
Okay, good. The second question regarding publication. All of you come from a department of mechanical engineering. Suppose, right? It's very difficult for the professor who work in department of mechanical engineering to have top publication, for example, in Nature or Science. But I think that I didn't mean Nature and Science the best, right? But I think always our dream to have our work published in a good journal. So I'm wondering, which kind of experience or insight you can share with the audience, right, to promote your work in the best journal. Can you give them sharing? Maybe you first. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I think the question Professor Wang asked is not completely accurate because you have the model here. Okay. Yeah. Just doesn't. Okay. Right. So you're from mechanical engineering. I guess it's like these days. I would say the mechanical engineering is a bit different than we used to think. For example, when we talk about mechanical engineering, the process like thermodynamics, right, manufacturing, that sort of things. I mean, of course, they still have a sexy part of it. But I guess these days, mechanical engineering is about nature-inspired engineering, fluid mechanics, microfluidics. There's lots of things related to mechanical engineering that actually is a multidisciplinary, I would say, in a way. So that's what I mean. It's like when I joined CTU as a mechanical engineer in the first day, I also was super impressed by Professor Wang's work. As a mechanical engineer, he did all kind of fancy, chocolate work, and also the surface, the interface things like that. In saying that, I guess it's mechanical engineer. We shouldn't classify us as a mechanical engineer. I think we classify us as more like interface scientists, that sort of things. So, yeah, I think you're just different from the old days. That's my comment. Yep.
Thank you. Great question. I think the only person should answer the question is you, not us. Yeah. I'm a very lazy man. I have no, I have no, I don't know how to publish top journals. But I think being lazy is good, right? Because you can copy, right? Good artists copy, great artists steal, right? Just a copy. You have role models, right? Like Professor Zhuang Kai is here, right? Just learn from, right? Learn from role models. Every area have top scholars, right? Just copy from there, steal from them, and later I think you will become some of them, right? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Wang. So to be honest, first I like to thank the two professors because I did learn a lot from Professor Wang, the Zhuang Kai Wang, and Stephen Wang, and also from Professor Yang here. And to me, I think for most of the time of my research, I feel really frustrated, because when I go back to the memory, once my paper was accepted, I didn't feel so excited. But the very interesting thing is that when I feel the most excited is when we found a new phenomenon, a very interesting thing, and when we solve the puzzle behind the things we observed. So that's the really the exciting moment. So in my feeling, my personal feeling, I think that to get published in the top-ranked journal like Nature, Science, or sister journals, they do have some like rules and some tips. But from my point of view, I focus more on like the work itself to try to grasp the very tiny moment of the exciting. And then I think the publishing in the very great brand journal is just a natural thing. Yeah, so that's my sharing. Yeah.
Thank you.
I actually don't know what to say because recently we are actually struggling a lot with getting our papers published. But during this process, when we learning from our role models and learning from the very successful papers that's been published in high-impact journals within our own domain of human-machine interaction, is that we found that the most impactful journals that have been published are those that are receiving or are attracting a lot of broad impact. That applies really well to Professor Wang's publication, also applies really well to like Professor Yu Xinge's publication and Professor Yang's publication. But we're still trying and we're struggling, and hopefully we can get our own papers published in there sooner than later.
Okay, thank you very much. All of you did a wonderful science and also translational work. But unfortunately, so far, none of you guys are member of the Young Academy of Science of Hong Kong. Now, my question is, do you guys want to become a member of the Young Academy of Science of Hong Kong?
Oh, yes. Oh,
and
yes.
also give me the reason why you want to become Academy a member. Okay.
One quick question. How much is membership fee?
We can waive your fee. Okay. Okay.
I think about first.
No. I'll ask a question.
Okay. Actually, I'm actually have been nominated for the member this year. I really wish that I can join this community because when I look at the profile, the people that on board, I think they are just. To me, I think it's a kind of dream to me to become a member of it. I hope to, just by becoming a member, I want to interact with more members in the group, in this community. On that hand, I really much look forward to sharing my science and my finding with the community. By becoming the member, I also hope to contribute a little bit more to the so-called young community in Hong Kong. I think that's my ambition. Thanks.
Thank you.
Me too. I also really like to join this community, this academy. I think young community, even better young community. Yeah, so we can young, energetic, can make new friends. We can enjoy the fun times. So it's lovely.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, so my answer is definitely yes. So, indeed, I think so firstly, it is a great honor for the young scientists in Hong Kong to join this committee and the society, and so I believe every member in this society will benefit. Like to take today as an example, I meet some old friends and also know some new friends. So that's some kind of the benefit to me. And also I think on the other hand, each member of the Hong Kong Young Science of Hong Kong Young Academy of Science I think it is still growing. So by including more members in the diversified field, we can to further increase the impact, especially for Hong Kong. Yeah, because nowadays the high-tech science and technology is very important to both our country and Hong Kong. So we will need to devote ourselves to make some contributions. Yeah.
Yes, it would be my honor if I can have the opportunity to join this association because, well, just like today's event, I have already learned a lot from our distinguished speakers, and hopefully, of course, in the afternoon, I'll learn more. And also, I will hopefully have the opportunity to collaborate with every one of you because your technologies are exciting, and hopefully they will have a really great impact in our human-machine interactions industry. And as a member, if I get to be a COMA member, I would love to contribute to our association, help to nurture our next generation. I actually have one of my students here today. Hopefully, I will be able to nurture more students so that later on they can also join our association and expand our impact, as you just mentioned.
Okay, good. We still have 5 minutes before the lunch. I want to pass the time to the audience. Anyone want to raise any question for our panel members? Okay, good.
I'm not from the academics, but I'm very curious. I would like to join the academy, but how young to join?
Okay.
So you accept me, right? Okay, I have a question to Professor Chu. You talk about aquaporine, right? Actually, sperms have a lot of capillary dynamics. Okay, if you go into this area, probably we can help a lot in the next generation reproduction. Yeah, because sperm has different levels of aquaporine. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a very interesting and also important question. So indeed, there are several very, I think, advancing scientific research in this field already. So people have developed the artificial micromotors to help fertilization of the sperm and eggs. So because in some cases the sperm will lack activity by swimming in this micro environment. So we can help these sperms by arm them with a micromotor, for example, the magnetic actuated motor to help the sperm to swim better and faster. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I have one very interesting experiment. I can swim without my limbs moving. So there's a lot of micro motor that we can use based on my observation of animals. Like shark can swim without any motion. Actually, that is also capillary dynamics, okay? And if any one of you would like to know what my micromotors are, you are welcome to contact me, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think the time is almost up, and this is just the beginning of the conference. In the afternoon, we still have 2 more sections. Hopefully, you can stay here. And okay, now.
Thank you very much, Professor Wang. May I invite the speakers and the moderator of this section to pose for a group photo, please?
Thank you.
And may I invite all of you to step Forward, a bit forward, and look at our official camera in the front. And once again, thank you very much for bringing us these thought-provoking ideas on the topic of nature-inspired engineering and manufacturing. Please continue to look at the camera. And let's give a thumbs up. Thank you very much. Thank you. And that concludes our morning session. The organizer has provided a light lunch for participants who had registered for it. You may enjoy it in the conference area. Guests who are invited to the luncheon, please follow representatives of the organizer to the Lodge Bistro restaurant located on the ground floor of City UHK Lodge in the Academic Exchange Building of City University of Hong Kong. The afternoon session will start at 1:45 p.m. We look forward to see you later. Thank you.